Hey everyone, it's your guy Phil here for another episode of No Homo with my wonderful host, the one and only Isaac King. We're on episode 4, you guys. Can you believe it?
Episode 4. I cannot believe it.
So it is just a duo this time. Our boy Brandon had some other things going on. It happens. It's life. It's no worries. We'll catch
Brandon is actually taking his first trip into space. It's only for 15 minutes, but yeah, I'm just so happy for him.
Really?
Kidding.
Some of us take trips to space often, but
Often, like I mean, I know he's just a humble civilian, but yeah. No, I'm kidding. But yeah. So Brandon couldn't make it, but we miss him, and we will all be together next week. So
we certainly will. So shout out to Brandon. We will continue on, though your presence is certainly missed. But Isaac, how was your week, your weekend? How have you been? What's been new?
Everything's been pretty good. I can't really complain.
Mm-hmm.
Keep my family in your prayers. And that's all I gotta say about that. I just have an ill relative, so but
Okay.
yeah.
Absolutely.
But otherwise, like things have been really good. I mean, aren't you loving this weather? Like we're in the 70s in
Yes.
October.
So as we record this on October 23rd, it's currently 70 degrees outside here in the Chicagoland area. We experienced, I think it was like almost 80 yesterday, but with a cool breeze, so it wasn't like an intense, super hot 80.
Right.
So yeah, I actually did some running.
And I live near the lake, so it's always like really, really breezy and yeah, really nice.
Yeah. And did you do anything fun with the hot weather?
Did I do anything fun?
Or did you do anything, even if it's not fun? We can.
Well, I got a colonoscopy. No, I didn't. But I did. I mean, I did 2 weeks ago, though. I actually did. So, yeah, you have to like really like stay ahead of this stuff,
Yeah, it's important to get checked. It's important to do all your appointments and have a regular physical exam every year, and just to take care of yourself. Your body deserves it.
Yep, absolutely. How about you? How was your week?
Weekend was cool. I mean, since the weather was nice, I took advantage of a few runs in the morning. So we ran 4 miles yesterday with the group that I run with, and also we ran 7 this morning at 7 a.m. So it was a really very intentional weekend. And outside that, I really didn't do much, get groceries, all that kind of stuff, and chill out.
Normal shit.
Yeah. So, and speaking of groceries, I noticed because normally October is like, crab fest, right? And there's always crab leg on sale. They're usually at a pretty good price per pound. But apparently they're at Jewel, yes. Chicagoland area, you know what I'm talking about. So apparently, kind of leading to our first topic is the shortage of crabs available. Apparently, over 1 billion crabs have disappeared, according to the Huffington Post. The Alaskan snow crab season is canceled after 90% of its population disappears. So they're really not sure what happened.
The first time ever,
This first time ever, yeah. And so they're kind of looking into this being another area regarding climate change, if I'm not correct. Isaac, what did you get from it?
Yeah, they really suspect that it's because the water is too warm. And so they're going elsewhere. And, it's like 90% of the population. So there's not much, crab fishing you can do at that level. And so this was like for the first time, but for the second season in a row, king crab fishing is also canceled. That's the second season in a row.
Mm.
So, I mean, climate change is real. I don't know like how much more evidence people need,
Right.
but come on, and it's about to be like, you're gonna have to like take out a mortgage, like, to buy crab. I mean, it's gonna be like a super, super, super expensive thing.
Well, I mean, we're seeing it everywhere, and I feel like maybe just cognitive dissonance is so strong in a few people to where we just want to deny that this is actually happening, but this is affecting the available food that we get, even when it comes to crops throughout the year, things like that that we utilize on a regular basis. Of course, COVID and disruption in production helped, assisted with some of those delays, but those cold fronts that happen in areas of the country that don't get cold fronts or snow and wipes out crops, why you
Wipes
can't
out
find
crops,
collard
electric
greens
grids,
for
like all of
99
that.
cents. What'd you say?
I said, it knocks out electric grids, things like that.
Yeah, heat to thousands of people. That's another story.
Mhm.
But yeah, it's certainly something that I think even beyond our leadership, we all have to take serious. So, and we're seeing the effects of it. We can't even get some crab legs on sale. You can't dip your butter. Where you gonna dip into your garlic butter?
into your Tony's seasoned garlic brother. Yeah, Um, that reminds me. So this is a great segue into the next story. About the two kids in Europe who went to the museum and threw soup on one of Van Gogh's most famous paintings.
Yeah.
And then they glued themselves to the wall.
Okay. That's certainly.
People are criticizing their methods, but I kind of understand. Like, I mean, people aren't paying enough attention to climate change, and the only reason they got so much press was because they did that.
Right. Yeah. I mean, so this was done in a way to bring more attention, as you mentioned, to climate change. And this, according to The Guardian, and the two activists are from Just Stop Oil, and they threw a can of Heinz tomato soup on a landscape painting by Van Gogh. And this is in the National Gallery. And then they, as you mentioned, glued themselves to the wall, because, they're stuck on the issue. It's important.
Yeah. I see what you did there.
But somebody hit some cymbals in the drum for me.
But the painting was encased in glass, so it wasn't ruined or anything.
Oh yeah, and then they have ways to like remove and restore paintings like that anyway. Now if they had their own turpentine on it, that'd be different, even if it was like on the actual painting. But I don't feel that there's even enough tomato content in a Heinz can of soup outside of the dye ingredients that would maybe make a permanent stain. But I actually applaud these young people because they look very young. I don't see their ages within the article, but they're just taking a lot of things into their own hands just to stand up and to say, well, hey, we're about to inherit this world that you're giving to us.
Yeah, they're adulting because like actual adults don't seem to care.
Yeah.
So it's like the kids are the grown-ups in the room kind of thing.
But it makes you wonder, like, I remember being, in my teenage years and younger and like being really concerned about the environment. I grew up in the 90s, so I remember like solar being like a big thing at one point. And, like you really wanted things to be nice. And then like, I don't know if it's just as you get older, being indoctrinated into society, hopes and dreams being being thrashed, maybe for some, but just you have, like, for some people that kind of have this distance again, like, okay, well, I'm an adult now. These are how things are going to be. I don't have time to worry about the environment. It's just, it is what it is. We can't change any of it. Like, when does that become like a thing for some people,
You know what? People just probably don't want to put something else on their plate, like just
Mhm.
for self-care. I can see that happen. You know what I mean? Like there's so many things wrong in the world. Just like, it's like some people just so they don't really like have to mentally bear the burden of one more thing to be afraid of. You know what I mean? They just
Yeah.
ignore it,
Yeah, I guess so. With life and bills, you kind of want to take over what you feel like you can control, I guess. So I
Mhm.
understand. But these young people kind of show us that we all have our own power in a way to kind of disrupt, certain actions that are happening. So, and they weren't
Absolutely.
violent about what they did either, which I
No.
applaud them for that. Yeah.
It was a powerful moment. Good for them.
Yeah. And speaking of some more powerful moments, and also as we talk about kind of the future for not just young people, but just people in general, as we all know, or most of us know, President Biden is moving forward, or he moved forward with his announcement in August that his administration is planning to forgive $10,000 in student loan debt for those making under $125,000 annually, and $20,000 in forgiveness for recipients of Pell Grants as well. So with that happening, there seemed to be of course, going to be an opposition, to anything that's going to be positive. But a group of Wisconsin taxpayers on Wednesday were able to submit a emergency request to the Supreme Court. And the group is this according to thehill.com. But the challengers, they are the Brown County Taxpayers Association out of Wisconsin. And they urge the court to rule that the president's nationwide debt cancellation plan illegally encroaches on Congress's exclusive spending power. So maybe they had just an issue with kind of where the money was coming from. I don't know, but thankfully, and maybe to many people's surprise, Justice Amy Barrett, who actually receives these matters, or received the matter, she denied the request to block it. So any thoughts on that, Isaac?
Yeah, let me first say I was not expecting her to, you know, do this. I was expecting her to like, block it. Like, and for her to be a Trump appointee
Mm-hmm.
and do something like this is kind of like, a huge thing because Republicans don't want the
They want
student loan.
uniformity.
Yeah, they don't want they don't want anyone to get student debt relief. I mean, all of these states that have filed these motions are red states.
Right.
Period. All of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because they don't want Biden to have a win. They don't want people to be grateful for that by voting for him.
Right.
Or voting for Democrats. I mean, it's weird. I am just like, I am floored by the silence from Democrats as far as like what the Republicans are trying to do. Like,
Right.
they literally are going to the Supreme Court to stop you from getting debt relief, and all of them, the ones in Congress who own businesses, got millions and millions of dollars in PPP loans.
And Biden is actually talking about this. He spoke about Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene about the, I believe, $190,000 or $180,000 that she received and got
Mhm.
forgiven in terms of loans. So it's just ridiculous, the level of excess that they have and how much that they don't want anyone to be able to feel any type of relief. But again, my opinions, right, our show, but you see how the financial institutions that make money off of keeping people in debt,
Yes.
are pushing for people to be so against this. I actually went to, not to shift, but also within the same lane. My state rep had a town hall on Thursday talking about the Safety Act, which is going to be an act enabled here in Illinois, starting in January next year, hopefully. But it's going to remove the actual bail system out of crimes that are designated as violent crimes. So SA crimes, physical assault, again, violent crimes. There's a list of them there within the act. But instead of someone being able to have the money to get out after doing these crimes, the judges will have the ability to say, hey, there's no bail for you. You're just going to stay in jail. So that way you don't get an opportunity to get back on the street. So it's not the ability whether or not you have money, if you have access to freedom, if you've done something violent. So I saw a commercial and they have Joe
Rogan.
Yeah, talking about, the Democrats are going to make everything violent and releasing people. And he was listing all the violent types of crimes, and he's like, there'll be no bail, no bail. And I was like, yeah, no bail. If you did a violent crime, you get no bail, which means you don't have access to get out. So, they just kind of have this. I mean, the Republicans have a great marketing arm. They're able to kind of pull in, white Jesus into that mix. They're able to pull in a lot of what they have been able to own as family values and family conservatism.
Oh God, I mean, then it means absolutely nothing in this Republican Party.
And if you look at the people,
you can't be pro-life. You can't be pro-life, and then you don't want to get AR-15s off the street. Like, it doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense.
And a lot of them are, when it comes to that gun violence issue, they're wanting people to just accept that, oh, well, some people end up being attacked or harmed, or even beyond from these assaults. That's just a normal thing that we can't prevent this from happening. You have to accept that maybe someone within your circle or not yourself is going to be a victim of some type of gun violence, and we don't have to accept that, just because people make money off of this industry, and this harm.
Yeah. Yeah, there's a lot of money to be made in guns, so.
There really is. And it's just a shame that because money is such a dictator for things, that no matter how you attain it, no matter how you get it, that's all that people care about. And, you have people getting full endorsements, from a gun lobby.
Yeah, I mean, Marco Rubio he's taken I think $3.6 million in campaign donations from NRA,
Yeah. But we have to make sure that the guns have the rights. It's important.
Guns definitely have more rights than women currently.
Well, according to a lot of our country, a lot of embryos have more rights than women right now. So we're going into.
What's funny?
What's that?
Is that the Supreme Court refused to hear this case where a person wanted personhood, wanted fetuses to be allowed to have personhood, like they should count as a person, period. Now, after reversing Roe v. Wade a couple months ago, now the Supreme Court refused to hear that case. Well, why wouldn't you hear it? You said it's a full, it's a person. You know what I'm saying? Basically that's what your ruling meant, Yeah, but no. Because they don't want to say, because that's going to open up a whole nother can of worms. Oh, this is a person. I can write this off of my taxes right now. I can, everything I'm spending, it's a child. All that stuff. You know what I mean? And But they won't commit to that because then people will, get tax breaks like rich people do.
Well, I mean, they'll have to actually like adhere to it, like fully commit to it. And that means industry changes, that means healthcare changes fully, and not just, this want to overall control, have a control over birth control, essentially, for women to have the choice to, have a right to an abortion or not, even if it's through incest, rape, or if it's life-threatening, I heard about a case in Louisiana where a woman, through her checkup, she was pregnant, and they already determined that the baby was pretty much brain
Have a
dead.
head? Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah. I heard the one about the not a head too. Yeah.
Okay.
So and that she has to still bring it to term. Can you imagine in your body? I mean, as men will never know, but it's just it doesn't make any sense. It's such an investment in suffering that has just been so normalized, within our country. It's kind of a shame, and it's ridiculous. And everyone knows that it harms, not just women, but everybody, involved.
Yeah, everyone. I mean, and people they're already back, sneaking out and doing back alley abortions and stuff like that. Like, and those things are dangerous, and people could die.
Right.
But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think that hopefully people, it's gonna really like energize people to go out and vote blue, because if you vote red, like seriously, there's so much more coming through the pipeline, especially as far as it pertains to the Supreme Court, that, I mean, they are going to turn this country back as far as they can.
Yeah, but you know what? I feel like even though you have a very small minority of people like making such vast decisions for millions, us looking at that article or discussing the article about the activists and the things I see on Twitter, the things I see on different platforms, like the younger people, the younger generations, they really are getting it a lot more than us, than our parents, and so on. And I feel like they're going to be, and it may take another 10, 20 years as people, continue to move on and pass on, and people try to, move into adulthood, into other positions, but just realizing that we don't have to cause so much harm to each other, that everyone should have access to certain things, that, us denying one over another doesn't help anyone. To be emotionally available, to get therapy, to, have a healthy work-life balance, to not live in excess, like just things that people are starting to now either come out of from old ways of thinking, but also kind of reinvesting into things that are now working for more people. The environment, I feel like people are a lot more, at least the younger generation is a lot more adapt to some of those mindsets, and hopefully carry those into the future.
Agreed.
And speaking of an old way of thinking, I thought was not something that we had to discuss anymore, but this is more specific to what's going on within our prisons. So according to the Huffington Post, this is an article discussing that slavery is on the ballot for voters in 5 US states. And so just to kind of explain this and add some context to that, so voters in 5 states are deciding whether to close loopholes that allowed convict labor as an exception to slavery. And so currently, this is currently in Nashville, Tennessee. More than 150 years after slaves were freed in the US, voters in 5 states will soon decide whether to close loopholes that led the proliferation of a different form of slavery, which is the forced labor of people convicted for certain crimes. And I don't know if people out there are aware, but a lot of things are manufactured through incarcerated labor within this country. We're aware of sweatshops and child labor, things that are happening, maybe things that happen in other countries as well, but a lot of things from lingerie to, not just license plate, perfume, jeans, different clothes
packaging
and
at McDonald's,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah.
it's like, it's like huge companies. It's not like some like little mom and pop like operation. Like it don't. These are like major companies, and they're getting like this like prison labor for what, a penny a day or $1 a day or whatever they get. And
Sometimes
it should be
yeah,
illegal.
and it's like pennies per hour. 10, 18 cents, 20 cents an hour, and to make these people, these inmates work. So yeah, I'm reading a quote. It says the idea that you could ever finish the sentence "slavery's okay when," you know.
Oh my God, that's a t-shirt.
And,
Okay.
and really, as we talk about like crime and incarceration and things like that, um, like how does this rehabilitate anyone other than make them feel used, exploited?
No, exactly. And I mean, prison hasn't been about reform in, I don't know if it ever was. But it's not to reform you. It's to make
Right,
sure, like, basically that you'll be back soon.
right, because we want to keep you here, and
Mhm.
basically, once you're, because you become property of the state, essentially
Right.
when you go to state
Yeah.
prison or the federal government. So
Mhm.
yeah, and they can do, kind of whatever it is that they ask you to do once you're in there. In fact, it says nearly 20 states have constitutions that include language permitting slavery and involuntary servitude as criminal punishments. In 2018, Colorado was the first to remove the language from its founding framework by ballot measure, and then Nebraska, Utah followed 2 years later. So for this election, it's going to go before voters in Alabama, Louisiana, Oregon, Tennessee, and Vermont. So a lot of southern states, but also who would think Oregon and Vermont, right, as progressive as they, present themselves to be.
Right.
But
Exactly.
there's always like a lot of old language in a lot of these state constitutions as well. So we'll see what they decide when they have these elections later on.
And those are states where there are, a good number of private prisons, which really, they exploit the system. Because
And
if you don't have a set amount of pre-approved like a population that's like, let's say if your population in the prison seats 500 and but your occupation um falls below 420 or something like that, then the state owes the prison money for not having enough inmates. Like
and
that.
they
That's how
and
that
they
works.
and they
Crazy.
also get money per inmate as well.
Right. Right.
So there's an incentive to imprison individuals.
As many as
And
possible.
and as we've seen with other cases that have come out over the past of judges that were being paid by some of these corporations and were handing down extremely high and unfair sentences, especially
The
to
children.
Black and brown people, and yes, to children, putting them
Yeah.
into the prison system as young as 14,
School to prison pipeline.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so things have to change. Um, so I mean, again, these types of conversations were happening. I don't think that in terms on a national scale or even on a broader scale, maybe 20 years ago. Sure, people were having them, but I feel like it's a lot more. I mean, shoot, we're having them.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
And
If anyone hasn't seen, sorry, if anyone hasn't seen the documentary 13
oh
by Vernay,
yeah,
I mean, she breaks it all the way down. Like, yeah. I
incredible.
mean, like literally, like she breaks it down like by decades, years, whatever. Like, and when like the prison population blew up, and and
And the
how
intentionality of it. It was very intentional. Like this was not like an accident, and you know all of a sudden we have to just now put over 2 million people in prison here in the US.
And Joe Biden was a huge part of that. He wrote the legislation. You know, I mean, oh my God. They have put so many people in prison.
And I've seen, you know, I don't know the full legitimacy of some of these stories, but I've seen videos online of fewer folks that were musicians, other were like producers, but they were saying that they saw the change within the music industry in the late 80s and so on, and that there was supposed to be this, you know, investment in getting into private prisons because they were like the next thing, and now shifting kind of the culture of music to, you know, push to the forefront a lot of the criminal behaviors and activities that, you know, are supposed to be cool and acceptable, to now, as you mentioned, kind of fulfill that pipeline system.
Wow.
Yeah. So stay woke, everyone. Let's see, moving on to another person that, well, as we talk about conversations, this conversation probably shouldn't have happened, but according to this article on Billboard, released on the 18th of October, actor Isaiah Washington claims that actor Isaiah Washington claims, that singer Aaliyah, wasn't R. Kelly's victim, that she was, in his words, mature, even though she was just 15 when R. Kelly married her. So, and R. Kelly was 27 at the time, so 12 years older than she was, but you know, according to Isaiah Washington, you know, she was the person in control of that scenario.
Yeah, so it's kind of like he was listening to R. Kelly's music when he said this. It was like, you know, that's that song, "You may be young, but you're ready."
And you know, during this interview, because he and Aaliyah were in the movie Romeo Must Die.
Right.
So to some degree, I'm sure that he met her, he got to know her because they worked on a movie together.
He said he had a crush on her. She was 21 then.
Yeah, and that was right before she passed, like the last year or so before, you know, she died. But to know someone and then to speak of them this way, you know, like, I wonder, you know, because everyone always has like they project their thoughts about, you know, a lot of this underage essay stuff that happens, like, oh, it was the parents' fault, oh, they wanted it, they did this, they did that. But then when you actually remember knowing someone who passed, and then to speak on them like this, and not give them any type of level of empathy, consideration in terms of the age, just that because she was at that time a female child, because she wasn't a grown woman, right, that she essentially was controlling someone who was her producer and really had a hand in her career.
And her mentor, and
produced her music,
you know,
exclusively.
Yes, exactly.
So I don't know. I mean, I think it more so says a lot about him and people that think in that way, because maybe there's just an area within the male community, whatever way that you want to define that, that wants to always strip blame to the child or the young woman, or you know, whenever there's a victim that's
the actual victim. It's victim blaming.
Yeah, but we do it so much. Like, I see things, especially when it's a woman, especially when it's a woman that's Black, you know, it's always gonna be, well, it was her fault, you know, that it rained yesterday. You know, it's always gonna be that type of scenario. But it's never any accountability for if it is an adult, like if it's a male adult, it's never accountability, you know, that he could have done something. I mean, he's a man. What do you expect?
No, I actually watched that. It's a 5-part series about Mike Tyson, and it's really, really good. By the way, it stars Trevante Rhodes, I think it's his name.
Okay.
Anyway, he's the lead in the movie Moonlight.
Okay.
He plays Mike Tyson, and he's also actually an executive producer on this project as well. He is an amazing actor in the role, and they did a episode about the alleged
essay
against a young African American pageant contestant.
Right.
I remember that back in the day, and she accused him of an essay, and they did this one part where they were like talking to the jurors afterwards, and the jurors are like, "Oh my God, like what did she expect? I mean, she's going up to his room at 2 a.m. Like, what did she think was gonna happen?"
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and that was like, I mean, they really, 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 really all thought that way, and he was acquitted.
I think in a lot of ways, when we it's almost like, okay, well, yes, if you do something depending on the time of the day, right, then it's okay if it happens to you. So if you went over there at 7 a.m, how dare he, but if you go there in the evening, so I guess you don't have as many rights to say no if it's later. And I guess your ability to have your own rights and well-being kind of minimized as the day gets longer, so as it's later.
What? I didn't get the memo on that one. You know what I mean? It's like there are times where you won't be able to be a victim because you should not have been there, because between this time and between this hour and that hour,
your level of consent minimizes. I mean, she was probably about 10% consent, 2 a.m.
At 2 a.m.
It renews in the morning, and then but this is the thing though.
The sun rises in the east. That's what it is. Okay.
But this is my thing. Okay, fine. What if she wasn't there? She didn't go. Would it have not been someone else? Potentially.
Potentially.
And
allegedly.
and honestly, if somebody just wants to engage and sleep with someone, okay, that's what adults do. And most people do those things later at night. That's just kind of what it is. We're all adults here.
Some people are night people. Some people are morning
people. Yeah. But it doesn't mean that you can say yes to the sex. You don't want to say yes to someone violently R-wording you. There's a difference there,
because that that's a it is a crime of violence.
Right.
That's what people, they kind of miss that point. It's like, it's just, it's like, they try to like downplay it, but if you're a victim of that, which I know I have, as a child, and whatever, like had situations that to this day make me like, oh my God, like I can't believe I like survived that.
Yeah.
The person, that feeling of being so vulnerable and not in control of your own fate at that moment is that's what you need therapy for, the trauma for. You know what I mean? It's like, I didn't like that feeling,
and
that this person had total control over me.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just admit, who hasn't met someone and then you're like, oh, doesn't mean that they aren't attractive. Maybe they aren't, but like meeting them in person, you might change your mind. Maybe it's late. Maybe you're meeting up someone late, but you should always have that ability to change your mind. No one, you don't owe anyone your body.
Right.
So yeah, it doesn't matter what you're dressed as, with, you know, how scantily clad your clothes are, no one should have that should never give someone the freedom to prey on you, you know, in that way. So, but I'm glad you said that the documentary series is pretty good. I know that Mike Tyson had said that, you know, he was against it because it was unauthorized and he was telling people not to watch it.
And he wasn't gonna make any money on it. So that's really what it boils down to. And I understand that, but I don't know. They seem to do a really good job to me. So.
Yeah. Well, it kind of moves us into our next topic. This is according to NBC News. But if everyone remembers that classic remake, Superfly, that came out, I don't know, some years ago, one of the actors starring in it, his name is Kalen Walker. He was sentenced to 50 years in prison for sexual assault. So apparently authorities say that he sexually assaulted aspiring models who had reached out to him on social media, and he promised them work opportunities. They said that, goodness, there were over 30 women that came in terms of accusing him of a lot of these counts of assault. He was convicted in April of 3 counts of forcible R-word, 1 account of assault to commit oral copulation. So that's him like forcing himself onto someone else orally. 2 counts of statutory R-word, 2 counts of R-word by intoxication. This all according to the Los Angeles District Attorney's Office. So for a few, he was acquitted for, so the 2 counts of forcible R-word, 1 count of sexual penetration by force. He was acquitted of those, but he still was convicted for the other counts of SA as well. And he's only 27 years old. And yeah, they say he's a key manipulator, manipulating girls as young as 14 within this. So yeah.
Wow. I had to like kind of like remember him in that movie. Like, was he like an antagonist? Like, what was he like?
I never saw the movie.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I mean, it just looked like, oh, I'll catch it on BET on some Saturday. You know?
It was the movie was kind of ridiculous, but you know, I mean, if you want to, you know, really like look at, you know, the original version, it's really good. So
now I know about the original Superfly that came out in the 70s. You know,
yeah,
they kind of
that was good.
Do a remake. Yeah, I don't remember what I know he was a supporting character in it. I don't know exactly what his role was, but yeah, 27, you know, essaying young women is terrible. And I mean, they said over 30. I mean, he's got sentenced to 50 years to life for sexual assault. He's not even, I mean, if he does the full sentence, he wouldn't get out until he was in his 70s. Like, can you
if he does get out, if he does get out, he's going straight to Shady Pines. Okay?
Yeah, there's gonna be some essay once he gets in there.
Oh no, I don't wish that on anybody, but you know, if anybody,
not a wish, just you know, just a statement.
Kind of like what you heard be going on.
Yeah. So certainly support and thoughts to the victims of that. So and just this is a whole block of just celebrities just doing bad behavior, it seems like. But for those that aren't aware, talk show host James Corden got banned from a restaurant for being rude to the wait staff. So this happened October 18th. This is according to Yahoo News. But on Monday, New York restaurateur Keith McNally took to Instagram to express how rude that he was. He called him a it's kind of shady. He called him a miscreant of a man. No, he's a tiny cretin of a man.
Yeah.
And the most abusive customer to his, the restaurant's called Balthazar. So the Balthazar servers, since the restaurant opened 25 years ago. So I think apparently since then he forgave him. I know that James apologized profusely to the restaurant owner. People were saying that, you know, he could have apologized to the staff, but apparently, you know, people are just now even bringing up more instances than other times that he was a rude person. You know, experiencing
even
that
on
way.
the show, like
no,
back, you know, backstage, but yeah, like.
But you know, but who chooses to, like, when does it ever make sense to be rude to the person serving your food? Especially when they go to an area where you don't see the food prepared and you come back.
I don't know, you know, some people just don't think of that. And the thing is, like, that's always in the back of my head, you know. Like, I've literally stopped going to dinner with certain people because, like, I've had more than a few instances where, you know, you have a favorite restaurant, you take this person, this is their first time, you're like, oh my God, I gotta take you here like this. And then that person is a fucking nightmare. Like, she's giving the server like all this, you know, all this crap and drama and being like extra high maintenance. And you're like, I mean, I just come here to chill, and like, this place is so cool, and like, you're making it so tense for me, you know. And I can't stand for people to like treat like wait staff like that, you know. And because I understand that people do crazy things to your food. Like, I've worked at when I was a teenager, I worked in restaurants. Like, people are doing some crazy stuff back there. Okay.
Well, I would easily bet that James Corden has probably ingested a lot of hair, spit, other bodily
as cretins.
Yes. You know, from being such a pleasant customer. And it really talks about more so about people were saying about your level of control in your life, that you don't have any control anywhere else except for certain spaces where you know that you're going to be catered to and served. And if you have to do that, is because when you walk outside of those doors, you feel like, you know, you don't have any power over yourself for whatever reason, or you need to feel powerful because you don't. But to take that out onto people, especially as a well-known celebrity, when everyone's going to be accommodating to you anyway.
Right, when they're going to like literally like kiss your ass for just to say that they kissed your ass. You know what I mean?
Right. Yeah. So I don't, you know, so I don't think that it's more so the food, like enjoying the food as it is, enjoying being able to invoke this level of hostility onto another person. They have to accept it from you.
Yeah.
And if that makes you feel good, then you're just an asshole. And
right.
You need to like be someone and figure out what your control issues are.
And you need to end your talk show, and which he is, and he's kind of like, first of all, it's so weird that he's not a part of our community, because I'm like, you're kidding me.
Well, he's married, you know,
right.
He's married. And I know that in the movie that came out, the Netflix movie, I think it was called Prom or something.
Prom, anyway, I saw that.
Yeah. So he played, it was controversy because he played a gay character in that movie. And he also within the movie was dealing with some type of acceptance of being gay and all this kind of stuff. And people were just saying it really was like, you know, kind of a reach. And, you know, if you're not gay, you're not. But don't try to act like that you can convey an experience that you never had to convey, unless there's something else that you're maybe dealing with. But, you know, it just seems like he's more so a spoiled baby.
Pretty much.
Yeah. So if the heteros have them, let them stay on that side. We don't.
Yeah. Exactly. We don't claim them. Yeah. I mean, but he's basically become like the male Ellen.
Yeah. What is up with these mean talk show hoes? Like,
are we gonna find out that J Hud and Sherry like whip their assistants before they go on stage? Well, it's like their ritual. You have to whip
J Hud, she sings to the audience, so I don't know. Maybe she'll sing people, as a reprimand or something. But yeah,
what we found out, Kelly Clarkson was like a monster.
That'd be so heartbreaking.
It would be so heartbreaking. Like, I just don't believe in humanity anymore.
But that's what I'm saying. Is it that people are already like jerks, mean, like inherently, and then they become famous? Or is it, oh, well, because I'm famous, I have access, everyone's kissing my butt, I know that I can get away with certain behaviors? Is it the fame that changes the person, or is it just always that person deep down? I don't know. Chicken before the egg kind of conversation, or maybe one doesn't help the other.
Yeah, I mean, there was a time in my life, I mean, much younger though, but there was a time in my life, I mean, I when I took stock of like, my past relationships, I was like, wow, I was really into assholes for a minute. You know what I mean? Like that was just something like I had to be honest with myself about.
Yeah.
And then you have to like do some soul searching. If like this is the dude you're always like bringing home to mama, like come on.
wasn't the dark, brooding, non-emotional, non-affectionate person, was that not just like set up as like the ideal person that you're supposed to like go after, right? Because there's somebody out there that broke him, that was able to get the affection out of this person, like squeezing a freaking turnip.
I can change him.
What'd you say?
I can change him.
I can change him. My love will change him.
My love is transformative.
My other things, people just swear like, you got something so unique. But yeah,
right.
Yeah, but yeah, that was like the image that everyone said to go after. Like that was the person that you needed to.
Yeah, like blank slate, like no emotions, like, oh my God, he's so hot.
Yeah. And then when you're emotionally abused, right? This person, he won't talk to me. He's not into me at all. Like that's how you met him, What do you?
God, I'm in love with him. He doesn't even know I'm alive. I love him.
Mama, I love him. It's all that stuff.
No, he bought you. Right. What has he bought you lately? Okay, anyway.
Yeah. It's always good to take self-inventory. I mean, and actually you always like transition us like in a great way with our dialogue, because this next topic is going to be about certainly this actually happened on Twitter. I saw, let's see, on October 20th, there's a video of Charlamagne the God from the Breakfast Club talking about a conversation that he had with Kanye West, or Ye, or whatever you want to call him this week. But with Ye,
I'm calling him that.
Oh, okay. That Voldemort, whatever you want to call him at this point.
Say Voldemort. Never mind. Okay, I'm hearing things. Go ahead.
Say Voldemort.
I'm like, Voldemort?
I mean, that's where it's going. But just saying that he had expressed that he needed help from Charlamagne because his ex-wife is blanking, in his words, a white boy with the 10-inch ding dong, and he needs help. Well, of course, but help with that scenario. Did you find the video interesting or at least funny?
Funny.
Mm-hmm.
I just would like to know, like, what Kanye, I'm sorry, the artist formerly known as Kanye,
Uh-huh.
what he expected Charlamagne to do. Like, what is Charlamagne supposed to do?
He better block that thing.
He's supposed to like bash Pete Davidson, who's his friend.
Get in between them, get that away from her.
Move your dingling away from Kim Kardashian. Oh God, I can't hear you.
That has to be a hard thing to do.
Oh. Well, it probably was.
I mean, you want him to do the impossible.
No, it's so hard to say goodbye to yesterday. Yesterday.
Crazy. Kind of moving into a more serious note as we talk about his antics recently for Kanye. The White Lives Matter shirt incident, and this is actually from October 18th from Rolling Stone. It says Kanye West is giving White Lives Matter shirts to homeless people with the help of an accused serial R-wordist. And this is stylist and West associate Ian Connor, who was accused of SA by multiple women. And they posted a video Sunday night saying that they were dropping off a load of clothes, to people who would need clothes, essentially, who need resources. You're going to drop off these clothes kind of in a way like, oh, well, if you need clothing, you can wear this. So, what was your thoughts about the incident? Because they said they were dropping off the load one of these shirts in Skid Row, and I'm trying to figure out exactly where this location is.
Oh, in LA?
It's in LA, yeah. So they're just dropping. I mean, as we know, there's California has a huge, homelessness problem there. So yeah, they're just dropping off these shirts to areas of people who are in need and desperation. And yeah, your thoughts about the incident when it happened, and your thoughts now with this, Isaac?
The incident, like I said, was like not surprising from Kanye West.
Mm-hmm.
He invited Candace Owens to the show to also model the White Lives Matter t-shirt, and so now, like, ever since then, he's been on multiple TV shows, Tucker Carlson, Piers Morgan,
right?
I don't know, I think a couple other places, but he's really doubling down on the anti-Semitism.
Drink Champs, that they had to pull that episode.
Drink Champs, yeah. And they actually just they deleted the episode finally, because there was so much hate with, like, he was like saying crazy stuff about the Jewish people, but then he was like also saying crazy shit that, I mean, come on, like George Floyd died from fentanyl. He didn't die from a knee. Like,
can I say something about that?
He died for asphyxiation. Okay.
You said what?
George Floyd died from asphyxiation. So,
and his life was taken from him,
right,
from asphyxiation of a police officer putting his knee on his neck and him suffocating to death.
Right.
And I'm going to get on my soapbox and just,
please.
Because you have not a lot, but whatever the number is, you have people that are sympathizing and for Kanye and like making excuses for some of his statements and behavior. I saw one post from a friend on Facebook saying, you know, he moves in silence and you're not going to understand what he's trying to do. And, you know, like all this stuff.
Oh, that sounded like a hotel if I had never heard one before.
It's someone in our community, like for real,
Oh
like,
my God, really?
Yeah. So, and you know, you know, I feel like a lot of people are just like over all of this with him, like, and maybe not saying a lot, or not trying to engage with people who are so like determined to justify whatever he does. But the post was like, everything he does for the Black community. And I'm like, oh wow. You know, the way that we pedestalize people, like if you ask any like Ye fan, right? I'm like, why do you, you know, what do you love about him? Man, he makes the best music. So, you know, he made a really great couple albums. Not all, they'll say this album is better than that one or whatever. And I'm like, wow, for someone who made music, they made something that you can be entertained by. You know, you can work out to it in the gym, you can drive it in your car, whatever, you know. Why does that person, because they mastered how to make really enjoyable music, why does that person get to be put on a pedestal that now they understand complexities of politics, they understand nuance with social rights and societal things, and now they have all of the actual understanding that no one else has on how to run the country, how Black people should be able to operate, but still incorporating notes of white supremacy in terms of
more than notes. It's like an orchestra at this point.
Oh my goodness. You know, and so you include a woman, Candace Owens, who called your mother-in-law, this is the grandmother to your children, right? A pimp, and your ex-wife, daughter of your children, a prostitute.
Right.
But you walk out with her arm in arm. And so yeah, so I don't know what this, you know, unite the right thing that he's doing, but I wonder, no, I bet if you ask any person who is now justifying the comments that he made about George Floyd and all this kind of stuff, I bet you if you ask them, especially if they're a Black male, if you ask them before this interview came out, if you ask them if George Floyd was M-worded, right, his life was taken, they would overwhelmingly say probably yes, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Because, you know, of course, we're gay Black men, you know, but for years, we've always heard from the cishet Black male community that, hey, we're targets of police brutality. The police are treating us unfairly. The police are pulling us over. They're beating us. They're harming us. They're doing all these things. We see a video of this happening, of a police officer using his power, abusing it in such a way that he isn't even conscious and aware that he is taking and harming the life of another person that he already has in custody, and doesn't even give him the dignity of lifting him off the ground, but slowly kills him from the 8 minutes and 42 seconds that it took the entire thing. And finally, everyone's like, we see it. Those men are like, you see it, it happened. Look, we're being harmed by the police. Right? And then this interview comes on, and now just because this person is another Black male, or those individuals are okay with them undermining what happened in terms of this Black man being M-worded, right?
Yes.
How do you justify that? Like, I don't understand, like, how do you make that right when this is something that they've always said affects them, always said is something that's a problem. We have evidence of it happening. The coroner's office all determined that it was through that officer's actions. It was determined through autopsy, so nothing could be disputed. And that officer who did it, as well as, you know, went to prison for it, was convicted for his murder.
I mean, this caused worldwide outrage.
Yes.
There were protests all over the globe.
All over. Yes.
That's how egregious this was.
So you let one person, because of their opinion, they weren't there, they're not someone that can do an autopsy, they're not a medical examiner or someone that has any concrete proof. They weren't even in the same city or state when it happened. And now, because they're such a great artist, that you're gonna take what they say as proof. You know, like maybe it's beyond what I'm comprehending, but I love music. It's great. I don't think that I need to pedestalize artists. I don't think that Anita Baker needs to run for president. I love her. I think that she's wonderful. I don't think that she needs to, I don't think that I need to put my political choices and decisions over what I have access to in terms of a human being in this world into someone that makes great music because I enjoy it so much.
Right.
Or because they make nice clothes, or, you know, design things that are entertainment based. Like, why as a society are we not putting people up who are scientists that understand what's going on with the environment,
they're too cool for school.
Yeah.
Like literally.
People who do economic planning, people who are, you know, about health and healthcare and how we can be healthier. Those that are
why aren't they rock stars? Right.
Yeah. Yeah, that know tech, how we can evolve as a people through tech. We just want the entertainment factor, you know. And is that because we think that maybe in some way we'll be able to be those people? Or, and I use we loosely, but I'm just saying, like, I just don't understand how folks are so endeared to a celebrity that they haven't met, that they put so much of their identity and like really wanting to protect a person who probably in most cases has no care or concern about you, is so disconnected from you.
Or anything that your life is, you know, about, like nothing.
That will easily move you out the way, you know, like, and discard you.
It's like, why are you so passionate about following the religion of a person who brags about not reading? Like, I don't read. I don't read anything.
But
I'm like, so what is it? Like, how do you get all this knowledge? By osmosis? Like,
right. But like, can you imagine you being like one of your parents being an English professor, like being the dean of an English department, right? That fought for years for educational equality and to educate Black people. And we know through history and through generations, even with our grandparents and great grandparents, of people that endured slavery and Jim Crow that couldn't read, that told their kids and their families it's important for you to finish school so you can read because they knew the value of education. Mm-hmm. And it's scientifically proven that intelligent people read. So again, you know, I love Flashing Lights, it's one of my favorite songs. I'm not gonna be like, oh yeah, he needs to be over over my life.
No, I'm still gonna listen to his music because, you know, I really.
Oh, I haven't played a song of his in forever, but it's just like, even with R. Kelly, like I
really, really love, but
yeah.
I mean, if the song comes on my playlist, you know, on my playlist or randomly, I mean, if I like it, I'm just gonna vibe to it.
Yeah.
Period. But yeah, I don't understand why people put so much stock in people who wouldn't even break bread with you, like, you know, the former president, 45. Like, I don't understand, like, why all those, you know, hardworking, like, you know, middle class, lot of them poor white people are like so like, you know, gung-ho about him when you never see him hanging with people like that. You never see him, like those rioters, you never see Donald Trump with people like that. Those are just regular people.
Yeah.
You always see him with other rich white men, and that's it. And I don't understand like why all these poor white people like see him as the Messiah. But
okay. Is the desire to just have the freedom to wield and abuse your power? Like, is that such a deep rooted goal that to have one person that actually can do it is like we have to protect him at all costs because, you know, maybe I can be as harmful as he is one day. Like he gives me hope.
Yeah, the thing is, it's like I heard someone say that, you know, with the GOP agenda, like cruelty is the it's not the bug, it's the what is it? God, it's the feature. It's that, yeah. It's not a bug. It's the feature. Like they want to come across as cruel as possible to people that they are, you know, othering.
Yeah. And you know, it's just crazy because you think about how this big investment in human suffering, you know, it doesn't work for anyone at all. And yeah, I mean,
like the poor, like, you know, they usually rise up and, you know, then there's chaos.
And then even the people that, you know, were so endeared by the former president, you know, and all this pedestalization that happens, right? Like he can't be questioned and whatever he says is this. And it takes so much power out of you as a constituent, as a citizen, because how do you demand for your life to be better? You know, like what things are those people doing in power that, you know, through their right wing beliefs or whatever, how is that translating to making a better life for you where you are?
It seems like people never ask themselves that.
And or is this kind of as good as it gets? Or like,
I mean, look, these people like almost demand to be lied to. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I mean, we are where we are because, you know, lying is just second nature for so many who are in power in our government.
Yeah, it's almost expected.
It's almost expected, yeah.
But I mean, I could understand if, you know, hey, you got your people up there, they're in office, and you don't have issues with healthcare, your kids are in great schools, you have access to a lot of things. And I'm sure for many that could be, you know, depending on what economic status that you're at, you can maybe adjust that. But I mean, like the sweeping levels of people in poverty throughout this country that are so adamant about supporting some of these politicians, like
how great strategy.
Huh?
You know, it's still working. The great Southern strategy is still working.
Yeah. Well, we're still working on this podcast, episode 4. Okay.
Episode 4. You know, I think we were long-winded. I think we got a little passionate, but hey,
we got a little passionate, very political. So, you know, we were kind of sharing what's on our mind. But I mean, this is like therapy for me. I can kind of get some things off my chest. You know.
Yeah, it really helps.
We probably went about 1:15, so we're not too bad.
Okay. All right, not too bad.
We're not too bad. You know, we're not like others that do like, you know, 4 or 5 hour lives. I mean, you know, this is still digestible.
Look, it ain't that much going on that I was talking about.
Yeah. But certainly, you know, that wraps up our show in terms of the topics we're going to cover today. So I feel like, you know, we had a really also, you know, good show, great episode 4 to you, Isaac. I feel like we held it down. But yeah, definitely wanted to kind of kick it over to you. Any thoughts before we close out? Any, you know? additional key points that you want to share since we were so expressive during this episode?
I did want to tell everyone, because I forgot to say this when we were doing our little Kanye section. He's been dropped.
Oh.
He's been dropped by Balenciaga, Gap, Adidas, Vogue, and Chase Bank. So we will see, like, if he backpedals on some stuff or if he doubles down. So
no, man, it's all a part of the strategy. He's already steps ahead. You know, he's exposing them. You know, right? Yeah.
Oh,
yeah. And also as to add on to that, the family, I believe it's the mother of his daughter for George Floyd. She's her family.
They're suing.
They're suing for $250 million for the statements that he made in terms of defamation. So
I think they also sued Candace Owens.
She's named in the lawsuit.
Oh, is she? Okay. Awesome.
And Drink Champs is as well. So
that's why they took that video down.
Now, but the interview was still out there. Like it's all over the place. You can find it in a heartbeat.
I'm gonna find it. I'm just gonna have to make sure I'm not triggered because he just makes me so angry.
Yes. So that's kind of all of the people who are accusing Drink Champs of just kind of, garnering like a viral moment.
There was no pushback, I heard.
Well, when he said it, no, absolutely not. So
exactly.
But I feel like a lot of people who are interviewing him are looking for those viral moments. Like when people interview, what's the boy from That's So Raven, the young man, Orlando Brown, and all the stuff that he says. It's like this man hasn't worked in anything in entertainment in years. He's damn near, about to work at a 7-Eleven, and you up here, exactly. Interviewing him because he's going to say something crazy, and and you're taking advantage of his mental state. But I do think a lot of things that Kanye is doing is intentional. Maybe intentional in terms of he justifies that it's something that he should be doing. If that, I'm not a therapist, I don't know what about his mental makeup is influencing that, like what we should blame on the mental illness or whatever. But any person with influence and power that uses a platform to be harmful, I can't justify it, even if someone necessarily has a problem. You have to offer compassion, but shoot, give me some. I'm being abused here. Some of us we're watching all this stuff. And how does it feel to hear a lot of those things, because you have someone that's willing to, that's acting as if they're speaking on behalf of you as a Black person.
Oh yeah, no, he does not speak for me. So,
that goes to other platforms and
he's about to buy Parler, the far right platform that Candace Owens' husband is the CEO of.
He's
keeping it in the family,
but that was a move for the Black community. Even though he's making him and their family successful, rich, the trickle down, with all the racial content, anti-Black content. Yeah,
we're gonna talk about civil rights and equality and stuff, but we're just gonna do it on Parler now.
He's gonna change it from within. Watch.
Yeah.
From within. Is there. Also to everyone, we will be doing also just some different reviews as well of different shows. You may get more individual content from us on some of these reviews. So I know I want to cover some things as well. We're also trying to plan a group discussion amongst us three regarding the film that was released earlier this year, B-Boy Blues, by Jesse Smollett. So that's in the works. So we'll put that together and get that out over the next couple weeks or so. So just giving you something to kind of look forward to. So
yeah, and I'm probably going to be doing a restaurant review soon. I found a new place, so yeah. So look forward to that.
Okay, yeah, I
Eat
look
out.
forward to it too.
Look, eat out with Isaac.
I love the title. I think that's amazing. Please send me an invite when you go. You know, we can eat out together.
There you go. Yeah, it would be great.
All right, you guys, take care. Post your comments, follow us. All that stuff is included. We love to see how you engage with this show. If you liked it, if there's any other topics that you want us to discuss, any thoughts whatsoever, we appreciate you. And subscribe to the channel as well if you haven't.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.